All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Here we go. We're looking at dark. You could probably guess from the name of the show whether or not it's going to be a Pantene commercial or it's going to be nice muted levels all across the board. We're going to learn something about how to film dark subject matters, how to keep room tone low, how to just etch out a little tiny bit of key. And I will give you a hint as to why I was so enthusiastic in looking at this breakdown. It's because it's really, really well executed at a very high level, but the concepts are incredibly simple. And in order to maintain the consistency that happens over a show like this, over a series, I think it almost has to be, right? Because you're up against it. Doesn't matter what the budget range is. You're up against it all the time. And to manipulate the levels to get these kinds of looks that we're going to be having in this video today, which is really, it's simple. It's a conversation between two individuals who are looking at each other in a room. And while it looks easy now because we're seeing the results, it's important to remember that when you get there on your job, it's just going to be an empty room that you're going to have to choose where to place all of these elements. And the idea behind these breakdowns is we can get enough of an exposure to how other people have done it in the past and how they've been successful, well, then that's going to increase our chances of doing the exact same. So the subject matter is dark. They shot it dark, and we're going to learn exactly how they do it. If you like this content, if you like this video and you want to see more of it, this is a small part of a much larger video, and these breakdowns happen each and every week over on the Wandering DP Patreon channel. And to become a Patreon supporter, you can just look in the description below this video, click on that link, and you'll see that you can help support the channel and get access to all of the past episodes just like this, of all the feature films, of all the series. And it goes back years and years. There's hundreds and hundreds of hours of this, and it's beneficial to me because it's just that constant repetition of looking at successful representations for certain situations and then being able to use those situations that you've already seen as a Rolodex when you come up against it, when you're actually on set in the heat of the moment. Okay, so without further ado, let's have a look at this week's feature breakdown, which is from Dark.
Okay, I guess we can't talk about it. We're here. We might as well go through the motions, right? Little highlight there. Boom, something coming around here. The way that you can do this, right, if you're on a really low budget and you want to get a look like this, shoot into something where the sun isn't back there, have an overcast day, and then black out the entire car. Black everywhere. You don't even need a lamp to get this look. Black the front windshield, right? So let's say this is the front windshield. Black everything except a little tiny hole in the windshield. And that's how you get this look, right? Just so much contrast coming across. Behind the camera, neg. Over here, neg. Everywhere neg, except a little tiny hole in the windshield that lets through this little tiny bit of light. And if you are looking at the person when you are setting up the neg, and is it even neg if it's around the key light? It's blocking, right? You have the black on there, right? And you're blocking everything except that little tiny hole in there. That little tiny hole, you want to look, and you don't want to see both of this guy's eyes. You want to only see one of them, and preferably the one that is closest to the outside window, because that means the light inside is going to wrap this way. Okay, and that's how you get something really strong. We're going to see the difference here, because everyone always like, well, does it really have to be on that side? Yes, it has to be on that side, because if not, if the light comes this way at him, it looks significantly worse. I mean, this is like 101, way worse, and we're actually going to see that in that hospital scene that we talked about. We're going to see a little bit later on. So a little split screen action going on. This is kind of cool. I think I haven't seen the whole show, but I've seen parts of a bunch of episodes. And they do something really interesting, which is they always set them up from the exteriors. They set up these all these scenes from the exteriors, and it's almost like there was a Roger Deakins movie, The Company Men, where they did a bunch of these, even like this focal length, even though it wasn't Alexa 65. It was sort of this distance to camera, and these little tiny pushes in, this little tiny creep in. Do you feel that creep there? This little creep. And just ever so slightly towards, you can feel it as we're pushing past this tree here. You can feel that creep. And let's talk about the time of day and the angle on the house, because this angle on the house is kind of cool, right? I mean, we got the three-dimensional aspect of the house, right? You want to make this thing as 3D as you can, right? If I was going to do a dog shit drawing of a house, this is my go-to, right? This angle of the house that we are looking at. And you look at these in the entire series and in The Company Men by Roger Deakins, you're always trying to have the focal point, where the dimensions meet, right? Where you get the width and the length, and the depth, sorry. That's where we want to have them meet there. And that's really where we're all focusing in on that. Plus backlit, even though it's, overcast, still really, really down. And the grade plays such a huge role in this. But we want a little bit of sun in the background, and we want all this shadow darkness in the foreground. We don't want any, imagine if we were this location on the other side of this house. This thing would just be completely front lit. It would be called light instead of dark. Okay? And light looks like shit. Slow creep in and bang, we're already in the action. We don't start in the wide. We're not showing everybody this is what we're doing. We're not giving people the opportunity to judge for themselves and look around the room. No, it's straight into the single. Well, this is like the over the shoulder, really, because you got shoulder here. And if I'm the cinematographer and the director comes in and says, this is what I want to do. I want to play this entire conversation in a single and this particular angle, right? And we're really in on close on the girl because she's going through some stuff. We're a little bit wider on the interrogation lady, I think it's the mom actually. While she's talking to her, right? This is going to be very combative, this scene, very emotional for the little girl. And then boom, we punch in 3 shots. 3 shots with a cutaway to dad, I think. But we never see, 4 shots, that's a different angle. And do we keep going? We need a fast forward button here, which I think we have. Oh, Pop's in the corner. Looking very shady. Dark, even for a dark show. Is he telling something? Oh, the point? Dad did it. Who took a dump and didn't flush the toilet? Dad. Oh, no. Yes, it was him. I saw him coming out of the bathroom. For real? Was it you? Mom starts to get all mad. It wasn't me. No, it was little brother Timmy. Timmy or Dad? Tell me now. So this is the whole thing, right? Lots of pages. Look at Dad over there, creeping. Anyway, so we cut to Dad, and then we're out of that scene. She gets up. This is a good little workaround too. If it's really hard to film her going this way out of the shot, get up out of the medium, go back to the reaction close-up, and then jump out. That's like a good suggestion. And then we're starting this whole scene on another line and another angle. So really simple stuff here, but let's look at the positives, right? As we jump in on our close-up, let's identify which part of the room we never see, which is, ta-da, over there, where the light is coming from. We've got our little connecting window, which I think is what I'm now going to call these things, rather than just background windows. Because this window here connects your eye with the light that is coming across her face, even though this is a movie light, right? This is probably a sky panel through a 6x6 with a grid on it. And then we've got neg over here. You can see it right there, right? That's all we're doing here. And then you want to do this room tone, you can do it separately. You might be able to do it with the same sky panel, right, if you angle it farther enough around. But if you want to be really precise, like they're being here, and there's no movement, you're going to do key separately, then background, and then you're going to bring in the neg, and really dark. I'm talking really, really, really dark on the contrast levels. We come out here, it's still, Jesus, how did they get it that dark, right? That is grade. This is really hard to do. Or really separating the values that means pumping in a lot of light to be able to get it this dark, right? Because you can't have, naturally in a room, it would not fall off that quick. And the shot is wide enough to where the neg can't be that close, right? So that means you need a lot of level in the room to get that dark.
All right, that is going to conclude our look at dark, right? If you want to check out the rest of the video, you know what to do. Head on over to Patreon. Other than that, I think we really covered it, right? It's like the simplest thing is probably the best way forward. At least in my mind, I'm going to start with the simplest thing. If that doesn't get a pass from the director or whoever it might be, or even in my own mind, if that doesn't fit with the story that we're trying to tell, okay. But I'm going to start there at the most basic and then build out, right? You don't want to overcomplicate things. And it's often in those it's almost like a throwaway line on either a tech recce or a initial location scout where these decisions are made. And then you have to live with the consequences if you say yes, or if you don't speak your mind, or if you don't speak up and say, well, this is probably going to make things more complex, or it makes it slightly flatter, which means it's more dull, which means the cinematography isn't as good, which means there's less shape and people will respond to it a certain way. If you don't know this stuff in advance, if you just see it on the day of like, well, this becomes a lot more complex with the character's face this way in this location with the way that we're able to light it, you've left it way too long, right? You have to be able to articulate these things early on in the process so that you get the most value out of these skills, right? Your skills are being able to look ahead and project what are the problems going to be for a production, for a director. That's your role there, to guide them to the best images possible. And at least in my mind, the one way to do that is to expose yourself to as many of these situations as you can. And it's very, very hard to expose yourself to a lot of these situations on set simply because of the physical restrictions of the universe, right? You can only be in so many places and so many times, and you can fast forward all of that and just look at other people's results because there's no magic sauce, right? There's no equipment that they have that you don't have access to that is going to make a 10% difference in the quality of the images. Everything has gotten so close and so condensed and so narrow to one another that all of these tips and techniques that we talk about, you can do at home no matter what the budget is. So start there, make good looking images, being able to articulate why they are good looking images, and you're going to find yourself a very busy cinematographer. Okay, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just getting your hopes up so that you'll watch more videos. I don't know. Okay, that is going to do it for this one. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.